Jason, when you see Texas football, of course, they took a step back against Arkansas and got beat up a little bit up front on both sides of the ball. And that was pretty much the story of that game, is that Arkansas uh, moved the ball in the running game because of the offensive front and stopped or limited Bijan Robinson on the defensive side because of the line of scrimmage play. And then they explode for 70 points against Texas Tech, which I tend to discount Texas Tech, but they're winning their games as well, just coming off a pretty impressive win against West Virginia. And now another win over TCU, kind of breaking a string of losses, and 7 of 9 against TCU. So that's kind of a big win for them, and it was a little more decided than the final score. So your thoughts about Texas's play through 5 weeks?
Yeah, so I think they've rebounded, obviously, to your point, Mark, very well from that Arkansas beatdown. That was really not really as close as the final score indicated for those that really watch that game. But I know that they have rebounded very well. Personally, watching Bijan Robinson, thinks he's the best. He's the best running back in the country. You could probably get some argument from Kenneth Walker III there for the transfer from Wake Forest to Michigan State. But I think Bijan has proved himself as probably the best back in the country right now. So, I think they probably started the wrong quarterback to begin the season. Now that Casey Thompson's in there, he's played pretty well, although it was a little bit up and down last week against TCU. They relied more on the running game in itself. So yeah, no, they've played really well. Defensively, they've been still a little bit up and down. They gave up, some of them was a little bit in garbage time. They gave up the 35 points to Texas Tech, and then obviously the 40 points that they gave up to Arkansas. So I think the thing that's really interesting about this game, Mark, is I think both of these teams are very, very even in a lot of ways, and some of the things where Oklahoma struggles, has struggled a little bit. Texas struggles as well, and some of the strength that Texas has is Oklahoma's strength on the opposite side. So I think this is a really interesting, a really interesting game. Obviously is, no matter what, but I think even more so this year, just the matchups and the intangibles. Casey Thompson being the son of Charles Thompson coming into facing Oklahoma for the first time is just an interesting story in itself. Spencer Rattler for Oklahoma a year ago in this game, he was benched, and it was really kind of a jumping off point for him, so to speak, coming in the latter part of the year last year. So a lot of things to kind of break down and think about. But yeah, no, I think Texas has looked like a much better team than they showed against Arkansas. And Arkansas is still a really good team, I think, even despite the what they put out there last week against Georgia. I don't want to keep this to Oklahoma and Texas for the most part, but I think so far through a little bit over a month, obviously Alabama and Georgia have separated themselves as clearly the best 2 teams in the country. But still a lot of football to be played.